Hey guys, welcome back to another exciting episode of YOML, and thank you for joining. We are actually on the conclusions of our book, The Molecule of More. This is part two of two, and reflection 183. I'll let Chris tell you his reflection, and then we can discuss the pros and cons.
Yeah. We got our friend Jesus Snow joining us
With the halo.
as well tonight. But yeah, part two of the molecule of more, which is all about dopamine and how a single chemical can drives your brain for things like love, sex, creativity, and will determine the fate of the human race. So I can't remember. Did you read this book with us?
I got it right here. I pulled it off my
Yeah, the
bookshelf.
right book, right.
Nice.
This is a great book. I look forward to going. So yeah, start going. Sorry.
So actually, ironically, we this is the one I was telling you we were going to do on Thursday, was part two, and I was excited for you to join this one because I know you were like, "Hey, can you make?" You were going to try to make it on Thursday,
Yeah.
and we actually ended up doing a "Why Are You Yelling" meetup group because we forgot we had that plan that night. So it all worked out. So you get to be here for part two. So that's great.
Cool, good.
So no, I'm excited for you to be here. So the reflection for today is just a quick recap of the book. It's all about dopamine. It's just how dopamine works and how it affects your life and your brain and your behaviors and all that other good stuff. And we talked a lot about it obviously on part one. So part two, we're going to talk about the fact that willpower is a finite resource. And this book in particular, you guys remember this study from this book back in 1996 when Roy Baumeister conducted an experiment that was, quote, downright evil. So his team of experimenters and psychologists, they did a tempting food challenge designed to test to deplete participants' willpower by the power of unfulfilled promise of chocolate. So do you guys remember what I'm talking about? Do you guys remember this experiment?
Not yet. Not yet.
So they brought these 67 participants into a room, and some of them, the room was filled with the aroma of cookies and chocolate chip cookies and stuff. And eventually they ended up showing them the chocolate chip cookies, but only some of them then had those chocolate chip cookies removed. Some of them were allowed to eat those chocolate chip cookies, but then some were given radishes instead, and they had to just look at these chocolate chip cookies and they ate radishes. So while they munched on their gross ass radishes. That was part one of the experiment. Second part of the experiment was then they gave him a pretty challenging puzzle that they gave him right afterwards, and the effect of the manipulation was undeniable. The people that ate the radishes made far fewer attempts and devoted less than half the amount of time solving the puzzle compared to their chocolate eating participants, and the ones that got to eat their chocolate that they saw, that they wanted, that they desired, right? So the result of it was clear that willpower is a finite resource, meaning like those people had exhausted their willpower when they were wanting their chocolate chip cookies and were given radishes, and by the time they got to a more challenging problem throughout the next portion of it all, like they didn't have it. They couldn't show up with the same amount of energy and sustainability. So when I heard this thing, man, all I could think about was it reminded me of Eat the Frog. So True and I have talked about this a million times. Do you know what Eat the Frog is, Snow?
How I know it in the context is wake up every morning and eat a frog, and the rest of your day will go fine.
Yeah, like it's like if that's the worst thing you have to do every day is eat a frog, like the rest of the day is kind of downhill. So like just yeah, you're right. So like get the worst thing out of the way, early on that that you have to do, eat the frog, right? Like just get up, eat the frog, and then everything else it will be downhill from there. Well, I don't know about you guys, but like eating a live raw frog sounds disgusting to me. I don't really think that would be something I would be looking forward to every single morning. And every time I hear the words "eat the frog," that's all I think about is going, man, I don't want to wake up and eat the frog every morning. Like that sounds freaking awful. And not only that, it aligns to the whole willpower as a finite resource thing, right? If you have to exhaust all that energy to go eat something disgusting that you don't want to eat in the morning, then I don't know what else I had left in the tank after that. I mean, yeah, I get it. You would have accomplished something, of eating radishes or eating the frog or whatever it may be, but it would just deplete me going forward for the rest of the day. So what I like to think of instead of eat the frog is to eat the cake, and meaning taking your values to reframe what eating the frog means, right? So if eating the frog means doing something that's really hard and challenging every single day, right? You can take the exact same activity and you could say, hey, I want to go to the gym, and I want to be, I want to work out every single day, right? So you could wake up, you could eat the frog. Literally, there's places called Eat the Frog Fitness. Like there's a place down the street called Eat the Frog Fitness, right? Where it's like, hey, get up first thing in the morning, go eat the frog, go do your HIIT class, go exhaust yourself, go get it out of your system, and then get on with the rest of your day, because now at least everything will be downhill from there, and blah 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 blah. Well, if you go into that gym going, man, I'm just going to get this stupid workout out of the way so I can move on, like that sucks, right? Well, if you reframe it using values, saying, hey, one of my values is health, another one of my values is challenge yourself, another one of my values is play, or whatever, I don't really care. You could change all of that to be like, when you go perform the same activity, now it transforms magically from eating a frog to eating the cake, meaning like these are things that I already like to do anyway, and like I'll eat more of that all day long, right? Like, I mean, like I don't care. This isn't I'm not abusing my finite resources to go continue on, similar to what True was talking about around his sustainability. Like you can absolutely go in with a frame of mind of eat the frog, or you can go into the frame of mind of I'm gonna go eat the cake, and then when you get that, like your energy levels are still high, and then it's easy. It makes the next step easier. It's like you ate the chocolate cookie, and then you can go solve a better puzzle, which also hopefully you find your next challenge aligns to your values as well, and then your next challenge aligns to your values as well, and then your next challenge throughout the day aligns to your values as well. And then all of a sudden you find yourself eating cake all day long, and it's like a breeze walking through life, and you're just doing the stuff you love to do anyway, even though on the outside it might look challenging. You're just eating cake all day and it feels really damn good, so that was the reflection. What this one made me think about is eating the damn cake. The question was, do you want chocolate or radishes every single day? Do you want to eat the frog, or do you want to eat the cake? Like, love to get your thoughts.
Well, I'm a health nut, so I'll be like, hey, I'll take the radishes, but I like them because I pickled them and I put them with some dill, and like I'm eating them and I'm like, yeah, this is so dang good.
Well, that's your cake.
That is your cake.
Well, that's your cake. That's your cake.
Eating your cake, I guess. One way, because I think but Chris, you're right though. Like you're turning things into your cake, like whether. And I get the whole like frog mentality, because maybe it is like learning a new habit can be challenging though for people. So I think
sure.
So just getting that, just trying to frame it for people. Yeah, this might suck at first, but eventually, boy, that frog is gonna taste like the most delicious frog soup you had though, and you're gonna look forward to. Boy, I can't wait for some slimy, frog legs. And
sounds so gross.
Yeah. But so I guess, yeah. Do you want chocolate or radishes? I mean,
do you want to eat the frog or do you want to eat the cake? That's
yeah. I mean, yeah. Do you want to eat the frog, Snow? Do you want to eat the frog?
Well, I want, it depends how you frame it, and if like, and what your taste buds are though, so.
My taste bud from.
I don't think we can throw a blanket statement at this.
Hey, everybody loves sweetness. Like everybody does. Humans are born for sweetness.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I hate when my mom's like, "No, I don't really like sweets." It's like, no, mom, you just have like an ability to say no.
It's a figurative. It's a figurative frog. It's a figurative cake, right? Your radishes is your cake. Yeah. I mean, if you did it because you want it, it's a cake. If you did it and you don't want it, it's a frog. It's figurative, and depending on, doesn't matter who perspective you're looking at. If for you, right? If you want it, I mean, this is what we're talking about, the molecule of more, right? Because that molecule gives you a desire, and you say, "Hey, cake is my desire." Remember, we generalize it, but whatever it is that desire is symbolically your cake.
Yeah. Yep.
So I want to hear from your perspective is, do you want a cake or you want frog? Whatever you want to choose to substitute that cake or the frog with.
I just find like myself like resisting like giving you the answer that you want, Let's just say that.
I'm just asking you, if you had to wake up and eat a frog every single day, let's just be literal about it. Do you like frogs? Like, do you eat eating raw frogs?
Okay. Right, and that's literally can be used as a frog.
Would you literally want to wake up every single morning and eat a frog? Like, if you knew that it would save your life every single day, would you want to go wake up and eat a frog?
If I knew it would save my life, yeah.
I mean, I'm saying, like, even though you hate it, you absolutely hate it.
if I
disgust it. It is the worst experience ever for you to go eat a raw frog every morning.
but that's the thing. But it's like, well, what's the that's the thing. Like, I feel like posting a question like that. Well, what if I don't do it then? You know,
What if you don't?
then do I die? You know, I
don't
would
know.
eat a frog if I'm not gonna. If I know I'm gonna eat the frog, but it turns out I'm gonna be able to live another day. Sure, I'll have the frog.
All right, let's pretend you don't. Let's pretend you don't.
It's like
You'll never see the
like
outcome.
this too shall pass. You know.
Fair, but let's pretend this is another. Let's pretend you don't know the outcome. Let's pretend eating the frog is, you don't know. You have no idea if tomorrow it'll be a good impact or not. You just know that, like, I got to eat this frog every single morning. Like, somebody's telling me that it's the right thing to
it's just two approaches to life, right? One is to eat the cake, one to eat a frog. And that's just your experience of how you want to tackle your life journey and how you want to start off your day. Why you want to start off like hard, or you do it like, easy and, get more traction to get better, or you want to get the most complicated, most difficult things out of the way first, and then, enjoy, kind of coast the lot of the day.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it because I feel like it's not like a dichotomy.
I mean, it kind of is. Every activity is either aligns to what you care about and what you like, or it aligns to what somebody else likes and cares about. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know that there's any. It is a binary at that point in time. Like, when you perform an action, do you perform it for yourself or do you perform it for somebody else? Like, I mean, if you walk into the gym every single day to say, like, society values a trim body and a healthy lifestyle or whatever, and if I do this, and I'll be more attractive to other people, and maybe I'll get a mate or I won't get a mate or whatever, like that could be your motivation, like, and that's fine.
At the end of the day, it's still for yourself. I mean, you say, well, why am I going to the gym? Because I want to attract a mate. You want to, right? This is what we're talking about is your want and desire. Everything we do is all for the wants and desire that we have. And right, so whether or not you're doing it for, like, hey, I'm doing it for someone else, or because people like and attracted to a fit bodies, right? Because I'm not doing it for them, I'm doing it for me, because I want them to accept me. That's what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm trying to. I'm curious. What would be your alternate approach to that? So you would want to eat the frog? I mean, is what you're saying?
No. I mean, no. I see what you're trying to lay down. I mean, we always want to be doing things that are like that are like towards our goals, I guess. So whether it's a cake or a frog, maybe you want to end up liking to eat frog. Like that's why I feel like a question like that just needs more context to say.
You're right. You can.
Well, the context is like I said. I mean, the context I'm saying is, it's a dichotomy, because you're talking about, do I want to take the hardest thing first and coast the rest of the day, or do I want to ramp up and do a warm up and then get harder and kind of finish strong, right? Start strong or finish strong.
It depends what your goals are,
That means, it's according to your goal. It's not according to a universal goal. It's your goal. It's a person's goal.
Yep. Yeah. Whether they even might prefer to start things out hard and then get easy, or they might prefer to do things easier and then get harder.
Yeah, but if willpower is a finite resource, don't forget about the first part of all this, right? Like, it is literally depleting. What's not depleting is you can eat sugar all day long. Like you could eat cake all day long. It'll never be like, yeah, you might get fat and overweight, and yes, there probably is a boomerang effect on the other end of it, where it'll probably, like, I agree, you shouldn't eat cake all day long either, right? Like, I mean, there should be a cutoff of
well, I don't think we're talking about the literal cake. We're not talking about the literal frog either. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get is, giving you a point of reference. It's not about the cake or the frog, right? It's talking about your approach to your life, to solving a problem. What's your approach? That's what we're asking. We're not asking whether or not you literally want a cake or you literally want to eat the frog, where, hey, frog has slime and, I'm going to throw up, whatever. I'm just saying it's hard to swallow. A cake is easy to swallow. I'm not talking about, hey, you're going to get diabetes or not, or you're going to, get fat or whatever. We're not talking about that, man. I think that's kind of interfere with the concept we're trying to discuss.
Yeah. Well, I think of it as though, like, I mean, like, you look at this experiment, like, how long does it take to our willpower to, let's say, revamp up, let's say? Because let's say, oh boy, it took a lot of willpower to go outside and do that workout. Maybe that like 5 minutes later, it's gonna be hard to like gain some willpower to do one more challenging thing. But later in the day, you might even have that willpower because you even like prove to yourself, like, hey, I don't want to do something, but you know what, I can do it.
I'll change that question and ask you another question right back of like, give me an activity that you stopped, like that you tried to start a new activity that you, with good intentions of wanting to start a new activity that you just didn't keep going with it. Why'd you stop?
I'm not saying I did start that activity. Let's say like that example.
No, I'm saying, give me an example of something that you've done in the past that you've started a new activity with intentions of good intentions of doing something that you stopped, and why did you stop?
Um, I think I was doing more like intermittent fasting for a bit. But then I decided to stop just from doing a little bit more research and just like listening to like how my body feels and doing a little bit more research about nutrition. So it's like through like more information, I kind of ended up changing my ways and habits.
Interesting. I mean that's fine. I mean, obviously that's, totally. Did you? So it never got hard at any point in time. Like it was never. You never quit something because it was hard or challenging. It was just more of a
something because it was challenging. I'm sure I have. I think about like back in the day when I would be playing soccer, and let's say like our team was losing, and I would like almost want to get injured, or I would want the game to be over or something like that. Like, all right, like we lost, let's get over with it, I kind of throw in the towel that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to think of an example of something. Okay, like I'll give you like I do these monthly challenges all the time, right? Like there's been there's been certain times where they've been smooth sailing. Like the one I'm doing right now, I'm doing like 15 minutes of yoga a day, right? Like, and that's easy. Like I haven't had a single even blip on the radar. The month when I had to do 15 minutes of being completely bored a day, or I was like, I can't even meditate, I can't do anything, I just got to sit in a chair and just let my thoughts run wild and not be able to do anything, not touch anything, not look at a phone, not look at a TV, not look at a book, not look at anything. Like, I mean, not interact with anybody else, just sit in a chair and not even focus on your breathing. Like just sit and do nothing. Like it was like torture every single day. Like I couldn't wait for it to be over. And then finally, after like 5 days, I was like, I'm done with this. I cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I just was like, stop, I'm done. Like it aligned to nothing that I cared about. And there was no sustainability around it. I don't know why yoga does. That's why I do these things. Like, cause it's easy peasy for me. I feel better afterwards.
Yoga's good for you though. Like it makes you feel good.
Yeah. I mean, why can't being bored make you feel good? Like, I mean,
but no, like yoga's like almost like proven to like make you feel good though.
Not everybody loves yoga. I mean, I used to hate yoga actually a long time ago. I used to hate it when I would do it with Felicia, and I was like, this sucks. Like I feel like shit afterwards. It hurts my body more than I felt better about it. Like I don't know. I mean, my point of what I'm getting at is like, I don't know why yoga, like, because I don't do yoga every day. I am right now during this monthly challenge. I don't know why this has been so easy, but I can start to unpack that and figure out probably why it does, feel really effortless and easy. And that's what I'm kind of getting at the end of the day with this is like, I could use all my willpower to try to be bored for 15 minutes, but afterwards I was exhausted. Like it sucked. Like how long does it take for my willpower to regenerate? I don't know. Maybe it never does. Like, I mean, if I had to continue to go do things after one thing after another that was just exhausting my willpower, like at a certain point in time you just break and you're just like, fuck it, I'm done with this. Like I mean, like then you get depressed and stuff and you're like, I got to go back into this same damn workplace that I don't want to be in, and everything just gets worse and worse, and it's like the shitward downward spiral, of
it's exhausting to do things that you don't want to do.
Right. So it's kind of my point is like, I mean, I don't want to eat a frog. Like, I don't want like, I mean, and I don't care if you say it's good for me to eat a frog. I don't want to do it. Like, like I mean, nothing's going to change the fact that I'm never going to be a frog like eater, it's just not...
But I think if you had to eat 100 frogs in a day, that might be challenging, right? But let's say you had to just eat one frog in a day.
That
and
still
it's gonna
sounds
make you feel,
challenging.
and it's gonna make you better. Would you do it?
No, I don't want to eat a frog. Like, this is my point. It's like, I don't ever want to eat a frog ever. Like, ever. Like, I will never be a frog, consider frog a delicacy that aligns to anything that I want to do in the morning. You know, like, I don't want to go kill a frog. I don't want to swallow a slimy ass frog. I don't want to feel it jumping around in my belly after I swallow it live, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, I like it too. Sometimes, like, I feel like, oh, I don't want to sit down and meditate, but I do it anyway, and I feel great afterwards.
I did not say you can't do hard things. Like, you know, I that is not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying make those hard things feel like it's like eating cake, because when you do meditation, you feel better afterwards for whatever reason. It energizes you. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it, right?
Mm-hmm. But you don't want to do it at first, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't want to do. I don't want to eat a cake a lot of times. Like, a lot of times I'm like, oh man, like, literally eating a literal cake. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to eat I'm gonna feel like shit afterwards. Like, you know, it's gonna be a sugar rush. Like, you know, then I start eating the cake and I'm like, this is fucking delicious. Like, you know, I'm like, I'll keep going. You know, like, it's like whenever I sit down to go do those Wim Hof breathing exercises, like every single time, or a cold shower.
I have not done those yet.
Every morning when I try to take a cold shower, I literally dread it, but then I feel great afterwards, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right, I'll do this. Like, it aligns to whatever value that I care about. I don't know. Sure, you're pretty quiet on this one. Go, you know, get in this.
Yeah, so I'll be direct. You know, I don't eat the frog. No, not even once. Because to me, doing the things that's hard is not sustainable. And to me, there's no point. Just for example, if I were to cram for an exam, okay, so that I can make the grades, what benefit does it give me? Right? So for me, so imagine if you have a car, right? How does a car run? Like, what kind of fuel makes a car run?
Whatever, just normal gasoline.
Exactly.
Gasoline.
So how does car replenish its gasoline?
You put gas in the tank.
Exactly. So
I'm going to done this test.
Willpower, willpower is essentially it's an energy source. It has to be replenished. How do you replenish willpower? Right?
Well, what I challenge you is, if you don't use it, do you lose it?
So let me ask you this question then. You know, if somebody who lost the will to do this, to do that, to live, to do exercise, whatever, does over time, does the willpower replenish by itself?
I don't know about that, actually. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to hear your answer, Snow, on this one, or True, because I mean, I think
willpower can be replenished, but I do think it is like a thing. Like, yeah, if you use too much willpower, I mean, like, True, you were talking about earlier, like, you want like a sustainable cycle for yourself, you know, like kind of like small swings. So I think it's sometimes like, if we don't ever use any willpower, we just try to do just what's easiest all the time, even if it's aligned with like our goals, we aren't going to be able to exert some of that willpower when we actually need it. Because whether it's meditating and like training your thoughts to just come back to your breath or whatever you're focusing on, it's like anything, you know, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I think willpower can be trained, because I think we see some people like, wow, how do they do all this, that, and this, you know?
They're just gritting through it. I mean,
they might be overexerting themselves, and maybe they are actually not happy overall. So I think there is a healthy balance, though, about using some of that willpower to do things that you don't want to do, but also being conscious that you need to replenish that, which is why I think, like, I mean, when I think about my goals, my daily habits, like, I'm sort of particular in what I do in a day, because I know that those things will regenerate me, but I also know that those things will also like satisfy all my needs, where I won't be like, oh man, I need to go on some crazy vacation now because I'm just getting no adventure in my life, you know, or like, oh gosh, I just need the whole day to myself because on my other days I haven't been like taking time just to relax.
I think that's spot on. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I love the way you put it, because that's where I'm going. Because you remember, I keep saying, you know, if Chris and I were to run on a track, who's in front and who's behind? What? If Chris and I were to be running on a track, right? Who's in front and who's behind? Right. So the concept is just, for example. So one more example before I'm. So imagine if you are a farmer, right? You plant a bunch of stuff. You have a bunch of seeds. You plant a bunch of stuff, and you harvest them, and then you use it all. What happens?
You have no seed left over.
Exactly. So that's why you always, like you just say, you always have to have this constant sustainability loop to continue to use that, because it's always about, if you plant all the seed and you harvest them and use them all, you end that cycle. You don't have no more seeds to cycle. I mean, it ends. So in my opinion, willpower is something that will not auto-generate itself. It has to have something to act on it to produce willpower. And if you were to use all your willpower, you could deplete it, just like as a farmer. If you harvest everything and you don't save any seeds, there's nothing more for it to grow. So for me, it's like, I don't want to eat a frog, because the frog will actually take out of my willpower. They have no more willpower for me to do anything else. So I don't eat the frog. I want to get to the point where I'm going to eat the cake, but I'm not going to eat all the cake. I'm going to eat just enough to get to the next level, and then the next level. And so I like to step up, just like I discussed with you before this meeting, this podcast, is that I'm striving for sustainability. I mean, I'm using enough willpower so that it will give me so go back to what we learned about the happiness hypothesis, right? Because there is a potential from a gap between where you're at and where you need to be. Well, that potential allows you to want to reach the next step. If I were to say, hey, if I can jump from one stepping stone to the next stepping stone, but if I can make it, I can probably make it the bigger jump, just a little bit bigger jump next time, a bigger and bigger. But if you ask me to jump from where I'm at point zero to a wide gap, right? It stopped me in the track. I would never do that. So for me, it's eating the cake, but eating the cake on a step up level and be sustainable in that regard, so that whatever you do replenish itself and regenerate its cycle. So in my opinion, dopamine is what gives us willpower, because dopamine gives us the imagination. Hey, I want to be attractive, so I want to go to the gym. So I'm like, there's just enough willpower, because that wants a desire to have a mate, to have an attractive mate, right? I need to become a worthy of attractive mate. So I want to, well, if they are looking for a fit person, then the dopamine in my brain will actually release it. Hey, this is what my desire. In order for me to get that desire, I need to do this. So that's why, to me, is the desire, the dopamine release is the willpower. But it's also has a fixed amount per the gap. I mean, it's going to be like, different very amount depending on, how far or how, because it's not always about, hey, the more the better. It's always about what's the optimum in between the low end and the high end. Because if you go into the high end, right, it's going to work as effective. And you go to the low end, well, it has to be in the middle somewhere. And for me, I think having just enough, because like when Chris was talking about something in the past, when he said, well, he loves to kind of put together a to-do list and then crossing out the task, and it makes him, we say, hey, I crossed one task, I can do another. So it gives him that drive to go to the next step. And that's what I think willpower gives you. It's essentially the effect or the result of the dopamine that we release. I want to, hey, I want to become this, I want to become that. So I think dopamine is essentially filling your car with the gas whenever it's depleting. And so you have to keep that in constant check, because according to the happiness hypothesis, if you go from $0 to $1,000, right, that's a big gap, right? Because it's a big difference. But from $1,000 to $2,000, it's not as a big of a gap. So your willpower is relative to that gap of perspective. And so I think having a way to kind of like feed itself back to a sustainable loop, I think that's what we're looking for, versus, hey, I'm going to eat the frog. Because I don't want to, let's say I want to invest in something and I have $1,000. I eat the frog, I spend the whole $1,000, right? When I spend it, it's gone. There's no more money left for me to even invest in anything else, right? I'm basically wiped out. Same thing with the farmers. If you harvest everything and don't save any seeds, you cannot plant it the next season. So there's no cycles going on. But if you think about having to save a little to have that spark for the next cycle, next cycle, next cycle, that kind of give you more of a sustainable loop. And that's why, to me, the molecule of more is essentially what carries humanity from where we were until what we are today, just because it's that little thing. Because if I were to eat the frog, right, it would not be sustainable. I would not continue to do that for days on end. I just can't, because eventually I'll stop. I will stop eating frog, right? So what happens when you stop eating the frog? Then you're gonna die anyway. So what's the point of eating all the frog all the time then?
I mean, I totally agree with you. I don't know that I like this dopamine sustainability is kind of what I heard out of that, is like, you know, you have to have a good, you know,
right.
To,
But my
hypothesis
is that my hypothesis is that dopamine is basically the act of refueling your willpower, and willpower, it doesn't auto regenerate. Because I've seen some people who are lost in willpower, they never got it back because
I was gonna actually ask that, because no, I don't actually know the answer to this. I mean, obviously, you and I knew each other back in college, and you know, roommates and all that good stuff, you know, and fraternity brothers. But you know, I'm assuming you went to school for engineering at Purdue because you thought, for whatever reason, engineering aligned to something you cared about, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I also know that engineering at Purdue is really, really challenging, and I don't know, were you expecting that when you first came in?
I didn't know what it would be like, but yeah, it was challenging. Yep.
So I also, when you graduated, you decided to not even leverage your engineering degree, and you still haven't, I don't think, to this day. I mean, in a formal capacity, in terms of
No, I
continuing on with
to
your
a couple places, and I was hoping to get like a biomedical, like engineering job, but nothing really panned out. I probably didn't apply to enough places to get an engineering job.
Yeah, so I'm kind of actually curious to know, like, did you deplete all your resources going through college of getting through that degree, and you're just like, screw this, I don't really want to do this anymore? I'm just kind of curious after having this conversation. It was something that kind of just popped in my mind, because I knew how much you enjoyed it. Yeah.
It was a large thing too. Like, I didn't pay for college, so like I didn't have student debt. So why not go out and be a ski bum in Montana with your friend and live the life, you know?
Yeah. Well, that was eating the cake for you, right? You wanted to do that, right?
Well, it's not eating the cake because
I want to do that. I mean, I'm not gonna liken it towards like eating the cake. That's what I wanted to do, you
know? Yeah, I mean, there was something about that aligned to, you know, to who you wanted to be internally, and the outward reflection of actions, versus going to you know, keep being an engineer that for some reason probably wasn't fun. Like, you know, like, I have a feeling that felt like it was a chore every single day if you wanted to keep trying to be that person for whatever reason. I mean, it might have aligned to somebody's eating the frog, or I mean, eating the cake, I guess, as an engineer, but for whatever reason that didn't, I would assume, for you. I'm just guessing, honestly. I mean,
it didn't really align to what my interests were.
Well, and I guess as we're going through this whole conversation around like willpower, you got through it, and kudos, but like, you're not an engineer anymore. I mean, like,
but
by
it ends.
professional.
My point is that it ends. It ends because you use all the harvest. So the effort is more than the desire. It stops. But eventually, because the thing is, in the beginning, let's say I eat the frog, right? My willpower is more than my effort to eat the frog. But eventually, my desire starts to decrease. And so when the effort's still the same and my desire to decrease, I'll stop eating the frog. So when you go in engineering, like in the beginning, you had a desire that's more than the effort of going through the engineering classes and doing the curriculums. But eventually, the desire for whatever engineering, it may not be as appealing to you anymore afterward. That's what I'm sensing, right? And because the desire depleted, like it lowers, and the I guess the difficulties of the effort is still high in engineering. Therefore, I say, hey, you know, I might want to do something else. Man, if I like to teach, I like to write, I like to make cheese, right? To me, my desire is more than the effort for me to make the cheese. Therefore, I'm doing the cheese. So that's for me is, don't eat the frog if it's not going to continue the sustainable loop. So to me, it's not. It's always about the optimal ability to regenerate itself. How do you put money back into that investment vehicle to continue? You have to buy something to make money back. But if you buy something and you lose it all, well, it wipes you out. Same thing with farming. You cannot sow all your seeds and then if something happens to it, you're wiped out. You have to save something. But at the end of the day, right, that something gives you some hope. The hope of getting something in the future that gives you a desire. That desire pushes the willpower, replenish the willpower back into your tank, and then you get a little bit more, and until you grow up. But if you have no willpower at all, then you won't do anything. Right?
Yeah, I think you can take your or you can deplete your tank of willpower, but I do think it regenerates itself.
Eventually.
How so? How so? I mean, the thing is, without desire, there's no willpower. That's what I'm saying. Is my hypothesis is that if you have no desire, if you lost all hope, you won't do anything. When you are doing something, is you have a glimmer of hope. That's a slight sense of, hey, if I do this, my life will be better. That's it. It's a desire. When that desire is manifesting itself, it gives you the energy, the quote unquote willpower, to put out the effort. But if you completely zero out your willpower, then there's nothing left. And those people who have no willpower don't live long. They just just like, hey, I go smoke my last cigarettes in a prison camp, and that's how they behave.
Yeah,
I think that the willpower can be replenished though, because whether you have
right, I'm just saying,
whether like you have a conversation with somebody, you have a good meal, you get some therapy, willpower can replenish itself.
It's not auto-generating. It's actually, because
I would call that auto-generating though.
It's not auto-generating because, like, let's say you have a car, right? Doing nothing doesn't replenish the gasoline in the car. You have to actually fill it. So when you're talking to somebody, you're feeling it. When you are discussing or you are giving a hug to somebody, you're feeling the tank with willpower, some desire that you spark.
But Tria, have you ever just like been in a bad mood, waited 5 minutes, and then you're in a good mood?
Yes, but
that's happened to me before. That's happened to me before.
I'm saying
nothing's changed, but like all of a sudden I feel.
That's the thing is, whatever change, there is a change. There is a change there is some change, because whether or not the change could be, hey, whatever chemical that I had in there that makes me furious, now it's just depleted. It gives you that room back. Like, there's a change in pressure. Right? So there is always a change. That's my point. There's always a change. I'm just saying is there's always a change to make you refill the tank. And say, because if we know that fact, then we can use that information to optimize our regeneration cycles. That's what I'm saying.
If you got a job as an engineer that also got to make cheese during your workday, you'd probably still be an engineer, right?
Exactly. That's why
that's too much of a hypothesis.
I'm just joking. I'm saying if you got to do what.
But you think about it though, Chris. You hated the work you do, but because you had a side job, you have a quote unquote this entrepreneur project, you could sustain it longer because it kind of like balance out some of these like.
Yeah, I mean, I hated my job at Salesforce in terms of what I did every day, but the stuff that I did in the morning, the stuff that I did at the evening of eating the cake, allowed me to get through the day and still be
willpower. Willpower getting replenished because you did the thing that give you the desire.
I do actually think though that this is an important like pen to put into this of. You can't eat cake all day either, because that's not good either. You do have to do some stuff that's just hard. Look, I don't want to sometimes, like, I don't know, change my son's diaper. Like that's like not eating the cake. That's not eating the cake for me, right? Like I'm not gonna lie. But also at the same time, because I get to have this conversation with you guys, I get to go into that with a different frame of mind, and I'm okay with it for a while, right? But you do need willpower throughout the course of any day. Snow, to your point, I think it is ebb and flowing, but like, and to True's point, in my opinion, I think you guys are both right of like, it can be replenished, but you have to do something to replenish it. And which means you have to eat some sort of a cake to replenish it, like
Right,
something that you have to
get
do the
cake.
stuff that you like to do.
It can definitely be replenished easier, yeah, if you're like taking care of yourself.
It's about the
somebody.
sustainability cycle, right? I mean, if
Right.
you're talking about, let's say you eat the cake, right? Well, if you don't give it time for it to digest, right? You can't eat any more cake. So it's all about that. Hey, because you guys both understand what we're talking about when we talk about happiness hypothesis, right? Because it's about the differences in where you're at and where you're going, right? If I were to say, hey, I'm a millionaire already, and give me another $100,000, it's not going to give me that much of a more desire, because that's how dopamine works. So you get to a certain level, you equal, like you get to equilibrium at that point, and you won't give you any more happiness, because you kind of like elevate your happiness level to that point, right? And that becomes level 0, and you move up to the next level from level 0. So it's always about the distance or the gap or the potential for the next one. Just like when you eat a cake, right? You have to give it room to digest, to give you more room to eat the next cake. Because if you can't just eat cake all day long, because it will not create that cycle.
Same thing. You can't eat frogs all day long, guys.
You can't eat frog all day long, and you can't.
definitely.
It's not sustainable. You can't eat cake all day long. It's not sustainable. Have to eat it to the point where your effort and your desire has to kind of be like one is ahead and one's behind it. I mean, I think if you can divide it in a way that the desire and your effort for eating a frog, right, whatever that division is, if you can make it right and having that cycle, I think it could work too.
What if you ate a cake with a frog in it?
Guys, this has been a great conversation. Sharen's gonna be here soon, so I should get going here.
Oh, no,
I mean,
awesome.
I think that zeroes it out. I mean, it's
A frog cake. There we go.
Awesome. All right. So thanks for joining us. Fun conversation as always.
Steve, I might just give you a heads up. I wanted to call you and talk at some point just about like sales stuff, because with my cheese business, I'm just trying to make a sales position, and I'm just want to chat with you at some point. So
yeah, you got it. I mean, happy to. That is my cake. I like. let's eat some cake.
But that way too much.
Hey, good night, guys.
Awesome. All right. See you later. So. All right, true. The question we can leave for everyone else, still tuning in here is, do you want chocolate or do you want radishes? But I actually think we should probably revise that and say, are you eating more chocolates than radishes throughout the course of the day? And to make sure that, you're worrying more about sustainability, because you can't eat chocolate all day and you can't eat radishes all day long.
Because going back to what we say in terms of the core principle of company is balance, right? Because it's all about that cycles of sustainability. It's not about the destination. It's about how long can you sustain something. If it's not sustainable, eventually it will stop. And then what's the point in it?
Right.
Because like I say, if I can eat a frog for 1,000 years, but then I can't eat it anymore, because if eating a frog keep me alive, right? But eventually I can't eat anymore. Eventually I'll die. So what's the point? Just like if I'm gonna cram for some kind of test exam, and I do, but I don't remember anything. I can't use it because I don't retain any information. What's the point?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I like to think of it almost as like when I go on like a run or something like that. Like I can or play tennis, like is a perfect example. I love hitting my forehand. Like it feels great when I just smack a forehand.
Your desire is more than your effort.
Right. But at the same time, like I can't just hit forehands all day long, because eventually
just imagine you play tennis all day long, 24/7. Your effort more than any desire. You're gonna stop.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree. I guess what I was gonna say is like I also have to deplete my willpower every once in a while to be like, look, Chris, you have to go work on your backhand, or you have to go work on your drop shot, volley or something like that.
But willpower is what gives you what gives you the ability to improve yourself. Without willpower, you won't do anything to improve yourself. But doing the things that you want to give you the willpower to do the things you don't want to, right?
Totally.
But if you think about that formula itself, right? Doing the thing that you want to give you willpower, doing the thing that you don't want to deplete your willpower. But at the same time, the equation must be positive willpower, not negative, because you can't say, okay, I'm going to use more willpower to work on something I don't want, right? Because if you do that, it will end, because you have to have some gas in your tank for you to go to the next filling gas station. You can't just have it empty. Say, okay, for some reason it can come back. That's my point. Is that willpower has to be net positive. That means that whatever you desire must be more than the effort for you to say, hey, I'm gonna work on my backhand, right? Because if you don't, eventually you can't play tennis anymore because
if you only ever maybe hit a backhand for the rest of my tennis playing career, I would be like, I don't know if I want to play tennis anymore. I mean, like in all seriousness, I mean, I'd be like, I don't know. I really like hitting my forehand. If you had to maybe just discount the one thing that I love to do when I play tennis, like that would be pretty brutal, you know? And I don't know that it would be rejuvenating anymore, but like to your point, as long as I get to hit my forehand every once in a while, like it makes me, you know, okay when I go train.
It makes you feel good, right? It makes you feel good when you do your forehand. That feel good. Exactly. Say, hey, since I did this good, it gives you the energy to do the backhand.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about it. If you didn't have any willpower, you do not want your brain to stop you from even trying to do the backhand, right? Because that's what I'm saying is a dopamine. It's essentially say, hey, you know, I'm thinking about this thing. It makes me feel good. That feel good is the energy getting filled into your willpower tank. And then from there, with a willpower tank, well, you can do whatever you want. Meaning, hey, I can exert the energy to do something I don't want, right? That's what I'm saying is you have to refuel the willpower tank to actually do something you don't want. Yeah, and then the other side is to refuel it. I mean, you have to get your dopamine to get released. And how you get the release is, to me, it's a key. It's a key to how we can manipulate or manage ourselves, so where we have the best optimal sustainability cycle. So for me, the lessons in this episode is, you know, there are things that you can control to get yourself that optimal cycles of sustainability, whether or not you think it's doable. Because
it's not just sustainability; it's sustainability with growth. Like, I mean, because like just sustainability is I could just hit a forehand. I could sustain being happy hitting a forehand all day long, but I'm never going to grow and get better.
But the thing is, doing the backhand makes you grow.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, the thing is, you think about it. If I have $1,000, right?
Plus growth.
I have $1,000, right? Right. I have $1,000. Like, somebody give me $1,000. I gotta go buy some material.
No, I get it.
Depletes it, but that material is going to give me ability to sell for even more. So it's sustainable to me. A sustainable is always going to be a positive growth because it's a net positive.
I was going to say just sustainable growth, like is what I'm getting at. It's
I think sustainable in my mind is growth.
No, sustainable is could be just
because you can't be sustainable to be where it's constantly flat. To me, that's not something that I think of when I think of sustainability. I think of sustainability as ability to continue the trajectory upward, but in a sustainable way. Because
I would call that sustainable growth. I mean, just because it's not, because you can grow too much, like we've seen with all these tech companies.
No, sustainable growth.
I know. I'm saying you could like in a literal example, you could work at
you eat too much cake. You eat too much cake.
Yeah, they just shove you. They pump you full of all the sugar and fat you could possibly take, and everybody's just running full speed ahead, and you're like, oh shit, we overindulged.
What happened when you eat too much cake? Your body get clogged and you die. Right. So you cannot grow. You have, the thing is, like, say, if you cake, you have to give it time to digest. Because if you don't give it time to digest, it can't stuff any more cake into your body.
I actually literally think, I know earlier you said, well, we're not talking about literal cake and frogs. I actually do think that we are talking about literal cake and frogs. Like, I mean, like.
Well, if you're talking about cake, whether literal or not, I think the concept still applies. Because
I agree. I'm saying we should talk about it literally.
Right? I mean, you talk about. I mean, to kind of take it literal, give us the symbolic, right, understanding of what we mean is, you think about literal cake, right? Eating all the cake all day long without stopping, without digesting, without giving time to digest.
You
cannot continue to do that. You're going to get sick, right? You're going to get sick, and your body is going to get clogged, and you're going to die. Because if you can't, if your body can, let's say you stuff so much that you know how your muscle is digesting and pumping and all that, right? Imagine you push so much in there, it can't squeeze anymore, right? What happens after that? You don't do anything anymore. You just cease to exist. You don't just die, because it doesn't make any
it's
changes. It doesn't
extreme.
move.
It's extreme. You can't do
So
either
you can
all day long.
take the same concept of, hey, okay, now think about the little k and make it symbolic. Whatever it is you want to do. Whether or not
they should
talk too
do
much
it.
and you exercise too much and you do cold shower too much, you're going to have the little cake suffocation.
I agree. They should have done the same. We should write Roy Baumeister and ask him to do an alternate study where you just keep giving people cake all day long and see how long it takes them to eat the radish. Where they're like, finally eat the fucking radish. Like, or give them cookies all day long until how many cookies do you have to give them and keep pumping them full of cookies before they're like, give me a radish. I'm so tired of eating cookies. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I mean, I would actually be kind of curious to see what that result would be. Is like,
well, I can't. I mean, for me, I
want to
kind of know
engage the willpower. Like how much does it take for you to engage willpower?
I mean, the thing is that the more cake you have, so like let's say, happiness hypothesis. Did we talk about this in previous episode?
Yeah.
Okay, so happiness hypothesis, right? It's like when you go from $0 to $1,000, you jump a level, right? That level is high, right? Whatever, let's say 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10. Then go from a $1,000 to $2,000, right? That is not a 10, that's a 5. Even though the amount is the same, but you go from like $2,000 to like $3,000, it's not a 5, right. It's actually a 2.5 or a 3. And so when you eat cake, right, the first cake, it's highly desirable. The second cake, it's only half as much. And the third cake, it's just to the point where you have the 10th cake, it's the what you call the diminishing return, because your additional desire on additional cake is like almost zero. Let's say I give you one cake. Yeah, you want it? How about I give you 2? Yeah, okay. How about 3? How about 5? How about 10? Right? I can eat 10 cake because the 9th cake and the 10th cake, it's no more desirable than the 10th cake is no more desirable than the 9th cake.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I actually, like, the more that I think about it, I would love to see this experiment in the opposite direction, because like we said, it's all about sustainable growth at this point in time. But I think we need to officially put a pin on this one, because I gotta go take care of talk about eating the frog. I gotta go eat the frog right now and make sure that I do my job as a.
But you have willpower.
But I have willpower now. Yeah.
That's the point.
And now I got to eat some cake.
Because you and I are talking this, you get willpower.
Yeah. I'll be good.
Go and take care of the frog.
Exactly. Not that he's a frog. I mean, I love being a dad, but
the act of doing the thing is a frog. It's not.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding. But no, thanks for joining us. And the question is, do you want to eat chocolate? Or do you want to? How much? The sustainable. You get it. Like, we get it. You all get it. All right. Have a good night, and we will see you all tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good. Good night.